Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Digital Boss Boardroom and happy Friday. We are here, as always, to share valuable information specifically curated for small business owners to help you more effectively market your small business online. I'm your host, Bobbi Baehne. We are here, well, almost every Friday, but I did miss last Friday because I've just been really crazy busy. But we're here today. We really want to connect with you guys. So be sure to drop some comments, jump in the conversation, like, share, subscribe. You know all the good things. But let's jump to it because we have a ton of information to share with you today. So today I am bringing back my business partner, Brian Rugg, the VP of Think Big, Go Local, who, by the way, is the sponsor of today's podcast. And we're going to be talking about Google My Business. Also want to throw out a little hello to Kelsey, who is hosting our podcast for us today. So we're excited about that. So, hey, Kelsey. Hey, Brian.
Hello.
How are you?
Good.
All right. So I know I already made one mistake in this whole conversation, and that is calling it Google My Business. So I want you to tell us a little bit about exactly what this platform is and why they should be paying attention. And before you do, I'm going to throw a little comment out to Kelsey because usually our photos get a little bit bigger in these squares and they're a little horizontal. So girl, if you can fix that, fine. If you can't, fine too. We got it. All right, Brian, what is Google My Business, or actually what is it called now?
Yeah. So it used to be called Google My Business. Now it's called Google Business Profile. That's primarily because Google likes to change things all the time. So that's the short answer. Google Business Profile is a great way to get visibility for your business on Google search. So probably the easy way to explain it is if you search for a business on a laptop or a desktop, you'll see a rectangle on the right side of the page next to the search results, and it will list vital information about a business. So the name of the business, hours, location, phone number, photos. You know, it's great for restaurants. You can look at a menu. You can see pictures of the food, see if it's any good, that kind of thing. I know I've looked at it for restaurants just to see what the atmosphere is like and make up my mind. It's got reviews out there. Also extremely useful if you're like me. Oh, I disappeared.
Yeah, Kelsey's trying to fix things. You know,
Hey,
she's new at this. She's experimenting. It's all good. Go
Kelsey,
ahead.
can you touch me up a little bit too?
Yeah.
While you're at it? So add some more hair and stuff. So anyway, so it's really important for any business, especially local businesses, brick and mortars, to have a Google Business Profile set up, because very often it might be the first thing people see related to your business while they're out there looking on Google.
Awesome. So what's it? And did you mention what it's called now?
Google Business Profile.
Google Business. I'm going to struggle with that because it's been Google My Business for so long.
Yeah.
And you had mentioned really what you laid out is kind of what the desktop version looks like.
Right.
Similar, but mobile version looks a little bit different, a little more streamlined. You're not seeing all the boxes more. It just kind of pops up and gives you all that information.
Yeah. And definitely on mobile, it also ties into Google Maps. So if you're using the Google Maps app, your business profile shows up there as well. So it's really important to have it filled out.
Yeah, super important. So, okay, so let's talk about a little bit about why it's so important. So we got a few things we'll go over. I'll let you kind of get started about what, why it's so relevant. But you know what? I want to tell a quick little story first. I've told this before, so if you guys have followed us for a while, you probably already know this, but it just never leaves my mind because it really reminds me how important this platform is. So Brian and I and our intern at the time had the opportunity to go to Google headquarters in Chicago a couple years ago. Coolest business I've ever been in my life. Like, you could literally live there. Like, I don't know why people would even go home. You could just live there and have your health care and your sleep and your food and your exercise and your doctors. Like, literally, there's nothing, sunshine. There's nothing there you wouldn't have if you wanted to move it. But we spent the entire day with a team of Google engineers. And one of the questions that was really important to us was to find out what we could learn there to better serve our small business clients. So we asked the question, like, a small business that doesn't have a lot of resources, doesn't have a lot of money, what's the number one thing that they can do to be found in search results? Because let's face it, if you're not showing up in search results above or right next to your competitors, you're out of the game because people aren't going to scroll to the third, fourth page, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Their answer was leverage their Google My Business profile, because that's what it was called back then. That was their number one recommendation. So in my opinion, if Google tells you to do that, amen. We all need to be paying attention and doing that, because clearly they put a lot of relevance on that platform that they've built. So let's talk about some of the things that, having this profile set up properly enables your business to do. I'll let you start it off, Brian.
Well, and it might be worth noting that Google's goal is to keep you on Google as much as possible. So if you think about search results, quite often you'll see ads, but you'll also see things like people are also asking, and a lot of times you get the answer you want pulled from someone's website, but it's actually just listed there on Google, and you read it there and you move on. Same thing with the Google business profile. If I want to order a pizza and I search, best pizza near me or something, if the profile pops up and I see that, I can just call them and order from there. And, the business, in that case, they're just happy they got the order. They don't care if you go to their website or not. And then Google's happy because you're still on Google, right? So definitely worth noting that. So what was your original question? Because
we were doing the why is it so important? Starting off with the first question. Yeah,
you're right. That's one reason right there. Another good reason is so many. If I had to pick out the number one search phrase on Google, it's anything near me. That's just what people do, right? So having your profile is an indicator to Google that you are a local business, because usually your address will be on there. And we could talk a little bit about that when we talk about setup, but Google really does. I once had a chat with a Google engineer. I don't even remember what the problem was, but we had a big long chat, and he confirmed for me that Google's system actually works on addresses. Like, that's a big part of it. And so if you're using a PO box or something, that is not good. They want actual, I'm on 123 Main Street. They want to know if you search, in Chicago, something near me, that your business is located in Chicago. So, and a big way they do that is by you having filled out your business profile. You're basically giving that information directly to Google, so they have it and know that it's accurate.
So they're not having to crawl directories and websites and things like that for it. Okay.
And Google's customers are people searching, so they want to serve up accurate information. So again, if you have your profile set up and optimized, you can make sure your information is accurate, and that makes Google happy and can help you show up a little better. It's also useful. You can, if we search Think Big, Go Local, our business profile generally will show up, right? It won't,
and our website and our LinkedIn, all the things.
But you might also have your business profile show up for a search like web designer near me. So it doesn't have to be specifically searching for the business. You might rate showing up with your profile just based on what the search term is.
And that's the whole point. So that's the whole reason that we're doing this show, is because if someone's searching Think Big, Go Local, they already know who we are.
Right.
They're going to go find our website. They're going to call me. They're going to go find us on social media. I don't set these things up thinking about people who are looking for us specifically. What we want to do is show up when people are looking for the products and the services that we offer, because they clearly don't have anyone else to call. So we need to show up in those results on that map. So visibility is huge. And that's really one of the biggest reasons that we want to have this Google My Business profile show up.
Yes.
But one of the other reasons, and this has kind of grown over time, is connecting with your customers. So we're
Yeah.
all so used to checking our inbox on Facebook and Instagram and checking those notifications for who's leaving us comments and DMs and things like that. But how many of you are going to your Google business profile on a daily basis, or really paying attention to, what emails end up in spam, because the Google and the Facebook ones very often end up there, are checking it to see, are people adding photos to your profile? They can actually add photos. Brian had said something to me earlier when we were talking about the show. Sorry to steal your thunder, Brian.
That's okay.
But that this is really, because it fits with this, really a community. So you really can kind of leverage it a little bit, not quite a social platform, but maybe kind of a social community versus a social network. And so some ways that you can engage with your customers on this platform, we all know that people can leave us Google reviews. By the way, they have a lot of influence. Sometimes we think they have more than, I don't know, how much it has can sometimes be a shock to us, because we see people with terrible reviews.
I've had people tell me they were looking for a web designer and they checked us out, and we had 5-star reviews, and they're like, well, nobody's that good, but they said you had so many of them that I figured it had to be legit.
That's a really interesting point, because when we talk a little bit more about reviews, which we're going to talk about in a little bit, we'll kind of address that. But so people can leave you reviews, which you can go and respond to. We'll come back to that. They can ask questions about your business that you can respond to. I believe other people can respond as well. Is that true or not? I don't know. I don't know. But anyways, those questions can be responded to. There are, people can get messages to you. They can, like we said, drop photos. It's really, there's opportunities there to go back and forth. The thing that's interesting about it is answering these questions, responding to the reviews, it all remains public. So it's really even another way to not only engage that customer, but to really show the rest of the world that finds you in search how attentive you are, the kind of relationship you have, the feedback that you're giving. So that's one of the things I think is a really big benefit, and why it's really important too. And then, Brian, do you want to talk a little bit about kind of some of the insights and things that Google provides to you if you claim that space?
Yeah, you can actually, so once you've claimed your profile, it will keep track of what goes on. So they call it, in fact, I have it open over here. So it's customer interactions, right? So it will track how many calls are made. So the profile will have your phone number, and you can tap it or click it, and make a call. So it'll track how many people actually found your phone number in the profile and made a call from there. It'll track messages, how many people left messages. It'll show you how many people clicked on your website from the profile. So there is decent, and even things like it'll tell you how many people asked for directions. So that's another feature, right? It includes maps, and it's tied into maps. So one of the options on there is get directions to this business. So it'll also track how many people did that. So it's a nice way to just see how you're performing out there on Google, and how much it's driving people to your business in various ways.
I love the numbers, and they'll also, and once you claim it, they'll also send you emails kind of comparing different time periods, letting you know if you're, experiencing growth, or if there's declines and things that, are little clues to you that you're doing a great job, keep it up, or that maybe you're missing something and you've got to go check it out. So when you're looking at your Google business profile online on your desktop or laptop, that profile box is on the right, but up at the upper left, when you're logged in and you've claimed it, there's a whole little dashboard there that you should most definitely be paying attention to. I'll tell you, we have had clients that Google My Business profile is a game changer for them. And if they're not actively responding to reviews, putting updates, doing things like that, and engaging in the platform, they literally see the phone stop to ring. And as soon as they pick up those activities, the phone rings more. So I know from experience and working with hundreds and hundreds of small business owners, that this stuff really, really matters. So we're going to try to keep Brian, because you get the techie guy. We're going to try to keep him keeping this kind of surface level. Because here's the deal, you guys. If this is a struggle and you're not really sure what to do next, all you've got to do is call us. Drop a comment. We'll get in touch with you. We'll help you get through this stuff. But Brian, give us a quick little overview of what has to be done to claim and set up your Google business profile.
Sure. Yeah. So there's a couple things to know. Most often, Google will already have created a business profile for you. So there's these things. There's these things known as directories out there on the internet, and they are really designed to get your email so you can be spammed out of existence. But so they'll set up a profile about your business with a bunch of information, may or may not be correct, and then you have an opportunity to claim it. That's how they get your email. Google is kind of the same way, different goal, but they will often set up a profile for you using whatever information they can find. That doesn't mean it's correct, just means that's what they can find. So that's a very good reason to claim it. To claim it, you can search for your business on search on Google Maps, or you can just go to google.com/business and you'll find the setup thing. So now to claim it, there are some rules, and these are kind of fun. So you have to, like I said about addresses, right? You have to use a actual location address. You can't use a UPS store or a PO box address. So let's say you have an at-home business and you don't want your address showing. There's a way around that, but to set up the profile, you still have to enter your home address. You can't use the UPS store. So again, you can choose to hide that later on, but it's got to be a real address.
Let me interrupt you real quick, Brian. You also can't just jump on someone else's business because they have a physical location and use their address either, right?
Correct. Yeah. So fun little story. Locksmiths used to be banned from Google business profiles because apparently a lot of them were shady. And we know a locksmith. He's a great guy. So, but I found in the forums this one locksmith that was hunting down all the other shady locksmiths on Google Business, and he was posting pictures showing hair salon, and it's the address of the locksmith. So when you go to the hair salon, on the window is a piece of paper handwritten that says "Call A1 Locksmith." So they had no address, but they were claiming someone else's address as theirs to show up on the profile and have one, right? So you got to use it. And now Google, so when you set up the profile, it has to be verified. So, and there's a process for that. I'll talk about it in a second, but you got to have an address. You really have to the Google business profile is designed for businesses, primarily brick and mortar businesses for the most part. So there are some businesses not allowed. So if your business is online only, Amazon, they're online only. They don't get a profile. If you're a band, you don't get a profile. Organizations, realtors. So that's a tricky one. You can put yourself on there, but not as you can't have the word realtor in your name.
But if you're a brokerage and you have a physical location, our good friend Dawn Bremer, she with the Bremer team, Keller Williams, a little shout out to Dawn. She is actually, and the reason I'm doing that is she is one of the people that sees that massive change when she's posting updates to Google My Business or not. Because there's a lot of competition. She's fortunate. She has a team. They have a building. Now her agents might have a little bit different situation, but for her as the owner of that business, she's able to have one, right?
Yeah.
She's able.
Yeah.
To
oh yeah. Yeah. So,
It makes a huge difference for her. We talk about it
yeah,
frequently.
yeah. Couple other things. So speaking of realtors, so you can't put up a rental property and have a Google business profile for that, or a sale property. You can't do it for that. So really the idea is a business. So once you try and claim it, for everything to show up online, you have to get it verified. So back in the day, they would call the phone number of your business and give you a code. Or they would send you a postcard to the address of your business.
Or 14 of them because you didn't get the first 13. Yeah.
Now it's evolved into, because so many people try and game the system, now you have to do video verification. And this is fun because there's rules, right? You can't do a video longer than 5 minutes, and you can't show anybody in it, no faces or anything. But the idea is you show the sign of your business. You show yourself unlocking the door to the business. It all has to happen. So I'll give you an example. We really don't do this for clients, but one of our clients, long relationship with them, and they had a lot of trouble figuring it out. I'm like, listen, I'll just go do it. So it's an apartment complex. So Google gives you these things like try and show the street sign nearby. Try and show other businesses nearby. Well, this is an apartment complex in kind of a residential area behind a Home Depot is maybe the closest business. But so the way I did this, there's the entrance sign to the parking lot. And then maybe 100 yards away is the rental office. So I had my phone. I didn't show myself, but I'm like, all right, Google, because we have a love-hate
commentary. Throw it in the
all right, Google. Here's the sign. Here's the street. There's no street sign. There's a Home Depot over there. So if you look at maps, you'll see the Home Depot. And then I had to run down the sidewalk because I only had 5 minutes. I had to run down the sidewalk, run up to the rental office, unlock the door, and then go into the office inside where they meet people. And it worked. So
it is crazy though, compared to what it used to be. That is a ton of work, but I guess it really hopefully is keeping those locksmiths from using other people's businesses. Because you know what? I even know locally there was somebody doing that kind of stuff, trying to help their clients market better and doing shady things. And I mean, ultimately what happens, our friend, the great locksmith, can't promote his business there because people are shady. Yeah.
Oh, and I found another SEO person around here was claiming post offices in different cities throughout the Chicago area as his clients' business locations.
Yeah.
And you can report those. So I reported a few. I took screenshots and sent them to Google, and they took them down. So you really do need to follow the rules. I'm just thinking Richardson Farm, we helped them set up their Google profile. I got into an argument via chat with Google because they're like, well, show the sign. I'm like, it's a farm. I can show you a barn or something. Like it was the dumbest conversation. Anyway, all right. So
verifying is lots of fun. Good luck with that.
Yeah. So you'll get verified and then your profile will show up. So you want to make sure your profile is optimized. In basic terms, that means fill out everything. So add your business name. Again, there's rules. You can't realtors. You can add, Brian Rugg, but you can't say Brian Rugg Realtor. So your business name has to be the business name. You can't add, Best Pizza in McHenry or something to it. It's got to just be your business name. You can't put your phone number in there unless you're 1-800-Flowers, because that's your business name, but the rest of them, no. So fill out the information. You want to add hours. You want to add your address. And when you do that, it's a very good idea to make sure your address and your phone number are written the exact same way as they are on your website. So if you use, DR period for drive on your website, use that on your profile. you want them to be consistent and the same. So, okay. So hours and location, there's an about section, so you can fill out information about your business. You can actually list products and services on there. There's a section too, where you can identify as woman owned, Black owned, Asian owned. You want to choose those options too, whatever apply. Trying to think of anything else I'm forgetting. So
I mean, really,
everything, like complete the
yeah,
whole thing, right? Make sure you fill it out. Add photos. You can add a logo. Photos, make sure they're yours. Don't use stock photos or copyrighted photos.
And use photos, like you mentioned before, that help your audience know something about your business. So like restaurants, that was a great example. What can they expect for an environment, right? If it's a bar or a music venue, what does the stage look like? What does the bar look like? So that people can plan the type of event, that they want to have. So
definitely.
And definitely put your logo. I have a client right now. I need him to update the logo, because what happens, obviously people kind of need to click through to see it, but when you start responding to reviews, that little logo is what pops up next to it. So make sure it's branded like all your other platforms are, and recognizable who's responding to them.
Yeah. And you can also choose options to have people do messaging on there. You can set up ordering straight from there. If you're a restaurant, you can add a menu. So there's a lot of features that you can also use
based on your category when you tell them.
Depending on your business, that you can fill out. And again, you want to make sure you fill out as many as possible. Couple of things I should mention. So back to addresses and locations. So if you are a location and you want to display an address, you have to physically meet people at your location. So if you're a carpet store, you would show your address and people can come into the carpet store and look at carpet and talk to you and buy carpet. If you're a home-based business, you technically don't want people coming to your home and you don't meet them, then you would not display your address.
Although, I'm just going to say, so we are now home-based. After COVID, we sold our office because we all had great little home offices going. And we made the decision to use our home address because we have our own reasons. I want to be found, whatever. However, because of that, my front door has to have our logo, our information, and customers do come to meet me here. Or I have had multiple customers that I didn't know come knock on the door and say, hey, I wanted to talk to you about a website or whatever. So that is a decision every small business owner needs to make, but you need to be prepared and understand that actually means people will come looking. And if your name isn't on your door, you don't have any signage, chances are you're going to lose your Google My Business profile.
Correct. They will remove it if you're not following the rules. And again, like I said, you can be reported. So especially if you have sneaky competitors, they might say, hey, this guy is operating out of his house but doesn't follow the rules. Here's a picture, and they can remove your profile. So you do need to follow the rules. So if you don't want that situation, you can choose to designate your business as a service area business. So we have a new client. They build fences. They don't meet people in their home. They go to wherever you are and build you a fence, right? So they have a service area along the North Shore and kind of into the north suburbs and that kind of thing. So on the maps, it actually does a little outline of where you are, and you can enter in like, here are the locations we serve. So very important you make sure you follow the rules and you designate yourself correctly. And then hours, I think, is probably the other one that people can get caught up with. With hours, those are the hours you are available to meet with people in person. So if you answer the phone 24 hours a day, you wouldn't put that on there. You would put that in your about information. Hey, we're available 24 hours a day. But if you set hours 8 to 5 or whatever, that means you're available to be seen in person at those times.
Right.
So that's pretty much,
I have to mention this because None of these platforms are perfect.
Yeah.
When you work with them as often as we do, you see all the imperfections. But this is one more reason why you need to be going and checking your Google My Business profile frequently and actually engaging and being active there, because we had
Yeah.
mentioned, we have a client who has a seasonal business. So they're open for a period of time, then they're closed in the spring, then they open in the fall, and then they're closed, and they're open for Christmas, and they're closed till spring. So we go in there and we update the hours. And I cannot even tell you how many times Google just decides to
Yeah.
change the hours on their own, or an individual will make a recommendation that they thought they were open and they'll recommend. And if you don't notice that, Google
Yeah.
will change the hours based on what another user said they thought about your business. So you've got to be checking on it, because this
Yeah.
happens all the time to us, all the time.
Well, and that goes back to the community thing, right? Google wants it to be sort of a, better to not to think of it as your profile. It's kind of a community profile about your business. So people are welcome to make recommendations. This business is no longer open.
Yeah.
It's out of business. I've seen
Yeah.
that put in there, and Google may or may not accept the change.
Or
So
someone, you had an old phone number, or they got your
yeah,
cell phone number and thought that was your business number, and they say, "Oh, this is the wrong number," and
right.
now the phone number gets changed and you didn't realize it. So yeah, super important.
Yeah, yeah, and your example is my favorite. I'll from our client, I'll hear, "Hey, I have people at the front gate, but we're not open." And sure enough, I go to the profile, and they're
We're
marked
open.
open. And
Yeah, it's
that
crazy.
changes so often; it's hard to keep. We check that regularly, and it
Well,
changes.
let's talk real quick, because man, the time goes so fast, about how you can use some of these features in this Google profile. So I just want to go through some of the things that you can actively do on a daily
Yeah,
or weekly basis that are kind of game changing. So first and foremost, this is one thing I don't see anybody doing. Very few businesses are posting updates on Google My Business. These updates are going to be very similar to the kind of content that you're probably sharing on social media. So, things that are happening in your business, it could be specials, but Google handles it differently. So, one thing I see a lot of people do is they'll use a scheduler, they'll bring Google My Business into the scheduler, and then they'll post an update. They'll include that, oh, send this to Google too. They'll have a link to their website in the update. They send it off to Google thinking it's getting published, and it's not. Google will not publish an update if it comes from another tool and has a link in it. That isn't the way Google works, and it's against their policies. They're just not going to post it. So the best thing to do, especially, well, the only thing to do if you're trying to drive traffic, is to go directly into your profile, go down to where it says updates, put in your image, put in your copy. If you have a link you want people to click, you need to select what that button should say. Is it buy now, book now, learn more? And then they have a specific field that you put the link into. Google also doesn't want you putting in phone numbers, hashtags. They have a platform built for people to have access to all of that information. So if you're going to be doing those updates, don't use a third-party tool. You really, it will do so much better for you to go into Google, add those links, and actually do it in that platform organically. Then Google reviews the update, and then they'll post it typically within minutes. They're pretty quick about it. So
yeah,
know that you can do that. It's a great place to put offers, to put sales, to publish events. Google gives you different options, and then can use that to help people find you based on what it is that you're putting out there. So posts and updates are a pretty big deal that I don't think nearly enough businesses are doing. It's not, and it's weird too, because you never see like a stream. You don't have like that news feed like you have in Facebook to view all of that. But typically, the last two that you put up will be visible on your profile, and then people can scroll through older ones. So
yeah.
I try to make sure you've got two active things that are happening in your business that people can see when they get there. Now let's talk about reviews, because this is a huge deal. So I had to tell you a little story about a customer we had years ago. I think a lot of business owners have gotten pretty savvy about how important reviews are, they're important. They are something that Google looks to help you rank in search.
Yep.
They need to provide search results for trusted businesses that do a good job. And because if they don't, nobody's going to use Google for search if you're just going to find sucky businesses that don't have good reputations.
Right.
So the reviews are really important. It's not important. I loved that you led off with that story, Brian, about all 5-star reviews.
Yeah.
It's okay not to have all 5-star reviews because it can actually look a little shady sometimes if that's all people leave for you. We used to do a lot of reputation marketing, and I will tell you, sometimes those reviews that aren't perfect are such a great learning opportunity for your business. They're a great way to learn how to better train your staff. They're a great way to learn how to improve your customer service, your products. So don't get stressed out about getting a bad review now and then. That being said, there's 2 pretty important things that I think every small business owner needs to keep in mind. 1, how are you cultivating reviews? Do you have a strategy for doing that? If you don't, you need to have one. I tell this story frequently about reviews. I own a Harley. Haven't been riding much in the last few years, but I got a really sweet Harley in the garage right now. And when I bought it, when I first sat on it, after I paid for it, you ring the bell in the Harley dealer. Everyone's excited. You go outside, your bike's all shiny waiting for you. You pop on. My saleswoman is there waiting to take a photo. You can't punch the smile off my face. I am so cool now, and I am so excited. And I said to her, "Oh my God, Shelly, I love you. What can I do for you?" And you know what she says to me? By the way, Shelly is at this time the #1 sales person at this Harley dealership, because her response to me was, "Yeah, you could leave me a great review, Bobbi."
Exactly.
I went to Google. Almost all the reviews in that Google profile for that Harley dealer were reviews left with Shelly's name in them. Now, the Harley dealer benefits, but anyone that read those is going in there and asking for Shelly because that's the reason she was the #1 salesperson. And I was so excited that in that moment, I'd have done anything for her. Like whatever she asked me to do. Like, you know what, Bobbi, come clean my toilets. I haven't had time. Like, where do you live? I'm coming. Can I ride my bike there? Right? So really big deal. Have a strategy for asking at a time when you know your customer is happy, that you've really helped them solve a problem. That's a great strategy. So make sure that you develop something like that. The other thing,
let me throw this in. I often trade some free advice and help within reason for a Google review. And I don't do it up front. Like, I'll do it for you if you give me a review. I'll maybe help someone out and they'll say, "Oh, thank you." I will say, you're welcome. And how about, since you're so happy, can you give us a review? "Oh yeah, sure." So, and then they feel like,
great one, because
we
give away more free advice than it's crazy. So that is enough. Yeah, that's, someone doesn't have to even actually pay you. Although I will say this, when I read reviews, I can tell when you ask someone in your networking group or your mom to leave you a review that actually has nothing to say that really means they did business with you. Please don't do that. Another thing,
not a character reference platform.
It's about your product and your service. And we are going to talk about some mistakes people make, but I didn't put this on the list, so I'm going to forget. If you sit in a networking group with all of the small business owners you network and everybody leaves each other a review that day, when you go back home and you realize that none of them are there, it's because Google's smarter than you guys were. They don't allow that. They will tank all of them because it's unnatural. They know that you don't typically get 14 reviews at one time. And so chances are none of them are even going to stick. So that's a terrible strategy. Get your reviews from your customers. Nobody else.
And another terrible strategy is offering incentives for reviews.
Oh my gosh.
That violates policy. I actually met a web designer the other day at a thing, and I went to his website, and he's got a thing right on the homepage: get $50 off whatever if you leave a review. And that will get you in trouble and get your profile removed. You cannot do that. And think about it, you're not getting a genuine review really if you're paying for it. So it's not the same.
And when other people see that, the credibility
Right.
of your reviews drops significantly. So you
Right.
don't want people to see that that's happening, because now they don't believe that, your reputation is what you say it is.
Yeah, you have to earn it. Can't
Yeah,
buy it.
absolutely. And another thing we've got to say about reviews is responding to bad reviews. It happens. It's emotional, especially as a business owner. It really sucks. But I want to mention a couple of things. One, you should always respond. If it's too hard or too emotional for you, sleep on it. Call a
Yes.
professional, have them respond for you. We have had customers that got so emotional about it that it caused their business more problems the way they responded. So they hired us to do that. But one response: we are so sorry you feel that way. We'd really like to talk more about it. Or maybe, thank you for sharing that. This is a great opportunity for us to talk with our staff and do better. And we appreciate that. So people they don't necessarily, they're not going to judge you over a couple of bad reviews, especially if the majority are positive, which is why you need that strategy. So you get the
Right.
positive ones and not just the negative ones. Because let's face it, if I pay you for something, I expect to be satisfied. I don't need to go leave you a good review. If I pay you for something and I'm really unhappy, I don't want my friends to have that experience. So I'm more likely to leave a bad review than a
Right.
positive review. So keep that in mind. But respond once, be thoughtful, non-confrontational, understanding. We know the customer's not always right, but what we want is the thousands of people that are going to see
Yes.
that review, that when they see your response, they think, wow, that was classy. That's a business owner that cares about their customers, that gets it. The customer may never be happy, and
Right.
might be okay. It's really everyone else that reads it. So that's just really important. And if they come back and want to argue, no, we're done. We
Yeah.
said our
Yeah.
one
No.
thing, we're done. Every
Don't
time you
argue.
respond, you give more juice to that review. It's going to show
Right.
up higher. So let it drop, get some more good reviews, and that's that.
And almost never will they will fire off their angry comment and that's it.
Yeah, right.
I've almost never seen anyone follow up with yet another comment and get into a back and forth. As
I've
long
seen
as
it.
you respond correctly with,
That's true.
and it plays into what people see. If you respond like a hothead, then other people are going to see that and say, oh, if I have any kind of problem, this guy's going to unload on me and it's going to be
Yeah.
all my fault. Versus if you respond nicely, then maybe the person that left the bad review looks like the hothead and they think, that guy's just cranky, and all these other good reviews
And I want
must
to
be this guy's okay. So
I want to mention something else about reviews too. So we work with a live music venue that's also a bar. And just fairly recently, there was a review from someone who obviously was at the bar, drank too much, got cut off, eventually was asked to leave. They were mad, and they leave a review about how we were kicked out, blah, blah, blah. Somebody said that's what they do all the time. They just kick people out for fun, which is obviously ridiculous. How do you make money kicking people out? And the whole thing was it was a ridiculous review. I wasn't even drunk. Of course you weren't. But when we read it, and it was so inaccurate and so ridiculous, that I reported it to Google and said, this is not an accurate depiction. And Google they reviewed it and they removed that review.
Yeah.
And so if something, and you can't always do it, we got another one
Yeah.
after that from someone in the same party that said something even worse, and that one didn't get taken down. But know that you can report it. They give you a few reasons why it would violate their policy, and it is possible to get them removed. Not always, but you can try.
There is a process, and they even have a process for legal action if it's possibly libelous and that sort of thing. But years ago we had a nursing home client, and they had a review. If the food is bad, fine, right? Oh, the food here sucks. But the review was, I know for a fact they put rat poison in the food. So I reported it to Google. I said, hey, Google, it's one thing to say the food sucks. It's another thing to claim attempted murder. So maybe you should remove this. It was gone like the next day. Like, okay,
yeah, it's crazy.
So you can report it.
There's a lot about reviews, but know that and by the way, if you don't claim your Google My Business profile, you don't know those reviews are being left. And we've also had a customer who really didn't have any reviews. This was years ago, I think, before people were savvy enough to know how to manage it. They had 2 bad reviews they didn't know were there. They weren't even legitimate. They actually ultimately came from disgruntled employees. But how many people were looking for that business, saw those bad reviews, and never even called? Like, just went right to the net. Like, they didn't even know how much that could have cost them in future business because they didn't realize that they were there and didn't have a strategy for acquiring positive reviews. So that's my rant about reviews. Another thing that's on there is the Q&A feature. So really, this is just a way for people to ask quick questions. If it's someone that found you in Google, they don't want to go to your website and ask on the contact us page. They don't want to go to Facebook and find you. They're there, they're going to ask. So monitor that and take a peek, daily, and make sure you're answering those questions. That's that back and forth customer experience. And if one person has a question, chances are other people have the same question. And now you're able to answer that for anybody that sees your profile. You can also utilize, and Brian had touched on this, there's, depending on what type of business you have, you can integrate things like booking appointments, ordering things. So that is going to be available to you, again, based on what you tell Google about the type of business that you have. So be sure, to utilize that. And Brian, we know there's a couple advanced features. We don't even really need to jump into those because we're getting short on time, but know that you can integrate your Google My Business ads. And that's certainly more advanced for someone who's running ads or, connecting their Google Analytics. And there are local guides as well that, great for you if you can get some people that leave lots of reviews and have followers, because Google Guides, people can follow them because they trust their opinions. So just know that that's there. And if you see a Google guide, someone that's got a following, leaving reviews, be sure to give a really thoughtful thank you. By the way, I don't even think I mentioned thank yous. We respond to every review. If it's a positive one, we say thank you. I think that's important. People will get that notification and know we saw it, we appreciate you. And that's another great way to build up. And people who read your reviews also read your responses. So it's a good thing too. All right. So some best practices real quick. We talked about regular updates. Make sure you're doing that. Go in there, answer questions and leave updates. If something about your business changes, put up new photos. If you move to a new building, that also builds like familiarity. So for example, if we've got a photo of our home where the home business is, my home, by the way, we don't live together, we're in different places. That will help people be like, oh yeah, this is the place. This is where I'm looking for my meeting. So be sure to do both of those things. And engagement. So having those strategies for getting those reviews, encouraging people, to interact with you there is important. And then Brian, talk real quick about that little insights, whatever they call that little box. Because I love going and checking that out to see how
the interactions.
Yeah.
So
like what kind of stuff is in there?
Again, it's calls, messages, bookings, clicks to your website, and it's a very, I can't show it to you, but it's a
views, just simple, views.
Website clicks.
Oh, okay.
So again, it's all interactions with your business profile. So if they made a call from the profile, you'll see how many. If they went to your website by clicking on the website link from your profile, you'll see how many. But it's really not, the graphs are really easy to read. It's just a very simple, easy to read report of how you're doing out there.
And it also gives you a little monitor up there too of how complete your profile is. So pay attention to that. If they tell you there's work to be done, doing that work is going to do nothing but help you. So we're going to wrap this up with some common mistakes. I think we've talked about quite a bit of them already, but Brian, you want to lead off with a couple that are...
Yeah. So the big ones, again, you have to have an address. Can't use a PO box, UPS address. Keep your information consistent. Business name, phone number, address should be exactly as they are on your website and anywhere else you represent your business. Make sure you have all of your information filled out on your profile about you. If you're a certain, woman-led, Asian-led business, plug that in there. and fill out absolutely everything you can on that profile, and then pay attention to it, because people can make changes and Google will make changes. So tune into it every so often to make sure whatever you have is accurate, because it may have changed. And you should get an email from Google, but you may not see those. So always, pay attention to it.
Yeah, and I would say some of the biggest mistakes that I see that people make is not responding to customer reviews. Make
Yeah.
sure that you're doing that. Good, bad, ugly, whatever it is. Leave a response. People that are putting up bad quality photos. Like, again, this is a first impression oftentimes of your business. So make sure that you're being thoughtful about the photos that you're posting. Maybe photos of your team, so there's some familiarity being built, photos of your business, so they know they're getting to the right place. If you sell products, photos of your products, so people know what to expect. So good quality, think first impressions when you're doing that stuff. And then, of course, we've mentioned this, acquiring those reviews, putting up those posts, paying attention to the Q&A section, and then paying attention to your analytics so that you can really gauge, are you doing a good job? Do you need to improve it? Do you need to talk to somebody about how to improve it? Or are you kicking butt and keep on going, right? So that too. And then Brian has given a wealth of information about Google's policies. Don't violate them, you guys. You lose your business My Google profile. I don't even know. Can you get it back? It probably isn't going to be easy.
Oh, no. There's no phone number to call. You have to beg and plead through a form, and maybe they'll get back to you. So
absolutely.
Yep.
So, all right. So that's it. So Brian, thank you so much. This was a ton of great info. I gotta give a little shout out to my friend Sherry Benelli, who owns Early Bird, or is it Early Bird Digital, right?
Early Bird Marketing.
Early Bird Marketing. Yeah. She has been on the show when we were previously doing the Thinking Big with Bobbi Baehne show. She's come on. She is a Google expert. So if anyone's got a real challenge and really needs somebody, we have got a phenomenal connection. She actually writes for Google. Yeah. She's on their advisory team. And a lot of the information that we looked up recently to make sure we were on top of all of the changes came from Sherry. So thanks, Sherry. We love you, and love that we know someone with so much expertise to be able to share the latest and greatest directly from the Google team. It's pretty awesome. So thank you guys so much for joining me today. If you've got any feedback, comments, if you've got something you'd like to see us cover in the future, you know what to do. Drop it in the comments, send us a DM, connect with us on LinkedIn. We definitely, we do this to be helpful to our fellow small business owners. We want to see everybody be successful. So with that, we will be back here next Friday at noon. If I don't lose my mind by then, we are putting together a huge fundraiser for a local nonprofit called Gigi's Playhouse, McHenry County. They serve individuals with Down syndrome. I know our friends at 216 The Net have been talking about it and promoting it for us. And I am currently pulling 15-hour days, putting it all together. But we're proud sponsors at Think Big Go Local of the event, and just putting some good out in the community. So hopefully I'll be sane by next Friday, and we'll see you at noon. Until then, I hope all of you bosses have a kick-ass weekend and a very profitable and productive next week.